I have to pull this seat apart. It's actually, if you can see it there, see how lumpy it is? The customer's complaining that the foam is uncomfortable. I'm like, looking at this going, what is going on underneath here? It's very lumpy and bumpy, and he wants a new seat cover. So let's pull this bad boy apart. Okay, let's see what we have underneath here. Let's see. Okay, so somebody modified this with it's an open cell foam, but it's very weird. 37759 V Star 650 lowered narrowed nose. So somebody customized this seat, and it is no bueno. So all this actually, these wrinkles, that's actually all in the cover. All those bumps and wrinkles that were in there were in the cover. So the foam's actually not wrinkly, but it's a very strange foam. So we're gonna modify this foam, make it a little bit more comfortable for him, and then we're gonna make a new cover. So let's get to modifying this V Star 650. You know, as I'm getting ready to foam this seat, the radio in the background, they're talking about a social media website saying how they just got caught because they said that they don't want to promote people that are fat, overweight, ugly, and don't have a lot of money. I guess no one's gonna be seeing this video, so I thought that was kind of hilarious. It is true. I don't know why anybody want to look at a video with me on it. So anyway, we're gonna foam. I'm gonna glue this seat, the foam back to the pan. I took the foam apart because I missed one here. I took all the bullets out of here, all the leftover rivet holes, so that we don't have a chance of it sticking up through the foam. We went through and made sure there was none in this foam. The reason I'm reusing the base of this foam is just because we know it fit the bike, and we know that it fits the pan well. So we're gonna glue this back on, then we're gonna cut the foam off and add some new, better grade foam and reshape it so it's a lot more comfortable. The bottom of this foam fit this pan very well. That's the reason why I left it, as I said before. What I like to do is cut pretty much everything that they have made previously off. So I take all their stuff and I just throw it away. And I'll get down to the basic profile that I kind of like. Once I get close, now I'm gonna grind it with, I have a 4-inch grinder. I'm just gonna grind it down, get it to the exact shape and profile that I want. This way, whenever I layer the new layers of foam on there, or the better foam, it'll actually consistently layer it so you're not sculpting foam each layer as you go. Trim this down just a little bit more and then we're gonna grind it. I have this seat pretty much where I want it for the preliminary sculpting of the factory foam. You can see this foam here has a lot of air pockets in it. When you actually inject foam, after the foam comes out, you really should actually collapse it to try to pop some of the air bubbles so you don't end up with this. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. I'm gonna add 2 layers of more comfortable foam and sculpt it a little bit. I kind of cut it in sharp here. I usually like to radius the seats a little better, but I cut it sharp here knowing that when I put the new layer of foam, I want more foam in your cheekbone area. So I'm gonna put the new foam on there, sculpt that. I thought this would be a good example to kind of show how we foam it. When you're having a custom seat made, you really want to tell the seat shop everything you're looking for, because there's a couple things that we'll have to do if we don't know what you want. Obviously, if you don't tell us you have tailbone issues, we're not going to cut out tailbones and do things like that, because sometimes when you modify something and someone doesn't have a problem, you can create a problem. We kind of avoid that. Another thing which we'll do is if you don't say there's any issues with the way the seat fits the tank or the rear fender, we're not going to mess with that because we don't have the seat here. If this, or I'm sorry, we do have the seat here, but if we don't have the motorcycle here. So with no motorcycle, if you modify this, you run the chance of making a gap or making it hit the tank or hit in the tank bib or something like that. We'll leave this normal or exactly the way it was, and it's the same thing with the rear of the seat. So another thing that we'll do kind of automatically, and this is each seat shop has their own kind of style and flow. Just like a musician has their own sound, we all do things a certain way. So with us, if you don't tell us any issues about it, but you need a more comfortable seat, we'll take the general knowledge of what we've seen and we're told from all of our customers over the past 20 years. A lot of people will say, you know, they don't want the arch or what they do want. With the majority of our customers telling us something, we're gonna kind of use that on your seat. This seat here, the guy wanted it more comfortable. It was a pretty rough seat, so we know that there's a lot of common issues. One issue, which I'll show later, is when you put a stitch across here, the reason that people do that is when you curve a motorcycle seat, to get the material to flow properly, you'll have to put a seam in there. That seam is really not conducive to having a comfortable seat, because what ends up happening is it doesn't really allow the material to stretch, and it's also right at your butt cheeks. Now you have this hard stitch where it's also a piece of material that's double layered and stitched, so it's this very firm piece of material there. So I like to personally not put that on there unless you have to. Some people really do love the curved seats. When we do it, what we'll do is we'll try to move that stitch up so it's away from your cheekbones. With that said, another thing that we do is there's a certain radius that seems to be the ticket for comfort. We'll try to get that radius on there. We'll always try to roll your inner legs over so there's no pressure there. Now you can kind of see here what we end up doing is we tapered it. So we have the factory foam here. We didn't modify the tip of the seat. And then we'll add our foam. We're putting a little bit thicker amounts of this foam where your butt cheeks go. And then we really thin it out. So you can see there towards the top, it's really thinned out because you don't really want a lot of tailbone pressure when you're just sitting on the bike. If you put your feet up on the floor controls, you get on the highway and you really want to lay back, then you'll have some area to rest on. However, when you're sitting, riding normally, you don't want to pressure there all the time because that'll just magnify and just really hurt over time. I'm going to finish up sculpting this seat here. We have a nice foam on here now. We have our really good profile and shape that we want. And then we're going to go make a custom cover for it. I have the seat foamed. I know in other videos I talked about soap foam, so if you want to learn the difference between why we use soap foam and not headliner foam, check out some of our other motorcycle seat videos. I forgot which one it was. I like to take the soap foam and run it around and keep it over the fiberglass edge, even metal, any edge of the seat. This way it gives you a nicer edge. Sometimes there might be an imperfection in the feel of the fiberglass or the metal pans or whatever, so this kind of helps it. I don't like to go too far over. I usually trim this. I like it enough to cover the seat foam, the seat pan, but enough for the actual material to stick. I choose to glue a lot of our materials, and I do put mechanical fasteners on there, rivets or something, sometimes only when needed, just because a lot of the bikes that we use are custom bikes and you don't want any sharp objects around the frame or any of the paint work because it'll scratch it and it could wear through. So we are really critical of keeping the bike safe. Here is the seat cover, which I talked about earlier, and you can see the actual stitch here. And this is the stitch that goes across on a curved seat, and this is what I was talking about. This really, if you push here, you got, well, this is a horrible example because this leather is dry and cracked. You can see it's all cracked and beat up here. But on a normal material, it's softer and it squeezes. Then you get to here and it's just hard and doesn't really move. I mean, this is actually hard as a rock. One thing also to remember with leather seats, this is not a good example. Whenever you condition a leather seat, you should use a good conditioner that absorbs into the leather, allows it to breathe, and does not leave it shiny. Anything that leaves leather shiny is going to dry it out and crack it. Anything that has petroleum distillate, like an oil-based stuff, you really got to be careful with because it will dry out the leather. You know, we get a lot of seats in that we have to repair because of this cracking and stuff. And also, if it's a full leather seat, which this is not, this is vinyl on the sides, but on full leather seats, a lot of people don't realize that you should take your seat off and condition underneath. We have a lot of seats that come in that are all cracking around here that we have to replace because of the wrong conditioners or just neglect. You use a product on leather, even on vinyl, that leaves it really shiny. What it usually does, it'll kind of, in the sunlight, act as almost a magnifying glass. It'll bake the material underneath it, and it doesn't allow it to breathe. So leather really needs to breathe. Vinyl is a urethane or a man-made material, but it does the same thing. It just takes a little bit longer. So if you have a really shiny vinyl and it's in the sun, it'll bake, dry out, and crack and get ruined fairly fairly quickly, not as quickly as leather though. Okay, so I'm gonna index this seat, which indexing, again, if you're wondering what it is, check out one of our other videos. We talk more about indexing, better detail, but I'm gonna index it. We're gonna make our center points, and I'm gonna start making a cover. This is gonna be a fairly simple cover. They didn't want anything extravagant. Joe, one thing as I'm patterning this, I wanted to ask you guys is, I had a couple people say that they don't like the music in the videos. I put it in there because it just seems so boring. Maybe I won't have music playing during this part so we can see how you like that. I put it in there because it just seems, like I said, it seems boring. It seems like too quiet. So a couple people had messaged us and made some comments. So if you think we should do music or no music, let me know. I'll do a little what do you call it? Whatever that thing is, so that it asks you a question right here at this exact moment. Answer the question. It's so funny. I just had my neighbor just stop by and just got back from Aruba, and you want to think that like you're not like a hypochondriac with all the stuff that's going on with the sicknesses and the flus and the coronaviruses. As soon as he gets here off the plane, he starts coughing, and you're instantly like running out of his path like a crazy person. This virus has had us all insane. I hope everybody's safe out there. Here's the V Star seat all finished up. So now we reshaped it, resculpted it, got rid of the curve. And also on the bottom of these seats, we actually cover them. So on our factory seats, we don't cover them at all. They're just the raw factory pan. On the custom seats, we'll put a black felt lining on it. And on the higher end seats, we'll do a suede or something else to cover the bottom that looks really nice. But here's the actual seat here, so you can see it's just a plain black vinyl seat, but it's a little bit lower, definitely a lot better looking than the factory or the aftermarket seat was, and it'll be a lot more comfortable.